The government could employ every unemployed person tomorrow if it wanted to.
The government ultimately chooses the unemployment rate. 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 It chooses the unemployment rate because it can buy up all the labour if it wants to. And it used to before neoliberalism.
The government chooses the unemployment rate. The government chooses the unemployment rate. The government chooses the unemployment rate.
Unemployment is always a choice of government. Because if you understand that the government can never run out of money, you'll also understand that it can buy anything that's for sale in its own currency, including all idle labour. All idle labour. All idle labour.
The federal government can never run out of money. It can buy whatever's for sale in Australian dollars whenever it wants, including any idle labour. When they say, oh, well, we've got 6.2% of unemployed now, the government's chosen that rate to be the case.
But the fact that you have mass unemployment is a political decision, not an economic decision.
The government can always maintain full employment. It's a choice to have 6%, 6.2% unemployment and 8 or 9% underemployment.
The purpose of fiscal policy is that is government spending and taxation. The purpose of that is to ensure there's enough spending in the economy to create full employment and prosperity.
Why would a society waste its most vital resource, its labour resources? It's neoliberal madness. Because it can buy up all the labour if it wants to. And it used to before neoliberalism. Unemployment is always a choice of government. Full employment, social inclusion, coherent safety nets. Full employment, social inclusion, coherent safety nets for when capitalism didn't go as well.
The government could employ every unemployed person tomorrow if it wanted to.
And the government, as I said, can always create jobs if it wants to.
So how often do you hear a politician say, oh, the government can't create jobs to get back to full employment because we haven't got enough money? Well, that's a lie.
Unemployment is always a choice of government.
What?
Oh, it's such a complex problem. It's multi-layered and complex. Well, no, it's not. It's a matter of creating jobs. Simple. Simple.
Then we need to have a discussion about what constitutes productive work. And so I would have, for example, I go surfing again. I would have surfers employed under my job guarantee, which is an unconditional job offer by the state. Now what would they do? Well, they'd go surfing. What else would they do? A major problem in Australia is children die from drowning because of the misunderstanding where the rips are in the currents. I'd have some surfers. We know exactly where the rips are. So surfers would have school children training them on beach safety, on sand dune management, where to walk and where not so that the erosion doesn't occur. I'd have musicians on the job guarantee. What would they do? Play their guitars. What else would they do? They'd hold rehearsals in school grounds and teach children how to put a band together. And so over time you would redefine what productive work is.
Oh, it's such a complex problem.
And there are hundreds of thousands of jobs waiting there to be filled if the federal government was to use its fiscal capacity to fund them.
Oh, it's such a complex problem.
And the government could tomorrow make an announcement that anybody who wants a job, we've changed the Centrelink office, we're now calling it the Job Guarantee Office.
Simple. The first thing I would do in Australia would be to get some paper and go out on the front sign and change Centrelink to being the Job Guarantee Agency. And then I would, as Prime Minister, announce immediately that anybody who wants a job can turn up to the Job Guarantee Agency and you'll get a job in a productive public service.
again.
To anybody who wants to work at a fixed minimum wage, which would be a socially inclusive minimum wage, not a below the poverty line minimum wage, that would allow for non-wage benefits such as superannuation, such as childcare, such as training opportunities.
Well, the government could employ every unemployed person tomorrow if it wanted to. The government chooses the unemployment rate.